Evening, Jimmy. Welcome back to the podcast.
Oh, what's up, Jimmy? Right, bruv? How's it? You're supposed to say how's it after I say how's it.
How's it?
What is the problem?
Jimmy.
What is the problem, Jimmy?
Jimmy, I think we should kill a different guy that isn't this Jimmy. Jimmy, we gotta kill one of the other Jimmys in the group. That finger.
That's not what old Saint Nick is saying. We're talking about 28 years later, the Bone Temple this week. So if you're confused as why we're going to keep calling each other Jimmy, you should go see the movie. It's it's an interesting time. It's a heartwarming tale of perseverance and found family and love in a strange time, you know?
Sham, this was such a good movie, and I'm really, really excited to talk about it. 28 years later, The Bone Temple. First of all, we've talked at great length about this title on this podcast and off the air, about how it is probably the best titled movie. Like, I can't think of a movie that has a better title. 28 years later, 2, The Bone Temple. 2 is not part of the title technically, but it is.
Which is the 5th movie, to be clear.
So good. Just so fucking
They
quality.
announced this movie like right as 28 years later was coming out, and it's like, oh yeah, it sounds like bullcrap, right? Like it sounds like something that's never gonna happen. One of those like Hollywood stories, like yeah, we're gonna make 10 more Transformers movies or whatever, and it's like yeah, we're making a long-awaited sequel to this obscure, semi-obscure horror movie. Yeah, it's going to be a trilogy. Yeah, the second one's called The Bone Temple. And everyone goes, what? Like, what does that mean?
So good. So phenomenal. I cannot wait to discuss this. Sam, we're going right into the Gush Zone, sponsored by Gushers. Unleash the unstoppable flavor inside and unleash the unstoppable blood coming out of this dude's thigh within 5 minutes of the movie. This
It's
is
a rough start.
gory, but it's about a good thing. I think it's this
Killing
movie.
Jimmy Salfa. Anyway.
This movie checks all of my boxes in the sense of like what I'm looking out of basically any art, but especially movies, in the sense that it's about a theme. It's about something.
Mm-hmm.
It's about exploring this theme in different like aspects. It's about having an insane situation that's used to reflect on our society and societal commentary. It's doing all the things right. It's always carrying that as like number one. You know, we're not just like pulling characters back in because they were fun in the previous one. We're not just like like every like every character that we do have, everything in its right place is the theme of this, right? Like they're thematically in the right place, they're interacting in the right ways. We get like the two, you know, people that are being like, we're seeing like mirror symbolisms of these like two completely opposite people, and then they get to have a meeting.
Kelson and Crystal.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Helson and Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal get to have like the meeting before the like ultimate conflict between them. It's just, and it's like the orderliness of it, the smoothness of it, the like, it just gives me so much satisfaction. It's what I find missing so often in media that frustrates me. It's like whenever I'm watching a movie, anything like that, that is the thing that I'm annoyed by first, and then other stuff might annoy me. This is just like so on message, so on theme the whole time. It's about something. It doesn't spoon feed you any resolutions or conclusions, even though it very clearly has like a point of view that it's coming from. It's not like, you know, it's easy to miss. And like in quick Google, I wasn't even like Googling for reviews, but in some quick Googles, I saw some like feedback that immediately struck me as like, all right, you weren't listening. You weren't up for this. You weren't ready for the Bone Temple. And that is why.
A shocking number of people who like come to both of these movies and go, there weren't enough zombies and there wasn't enough like horror movie. It's like, who gives a shit? Like, this is such an interesting world, themes, characters, ideas. Uh, the scariest part of this movie is a pleasant conversation between a psychopath and another psychopath who we happen to like. Like, it is a it's just hitting on something. If you had to, so let me give you a little bit of background here, because I know this is your first time in the 28 years later Bone Temple world. This is, or was, announced to be a trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
This is directed not by Danny Boyle, who did the last one, but by Nia DaCosta, but it's still written by Alex Garland, who also has written a bunch of movies about people and society and this and that, like he did in a really cool sci-fi movie called Annihilation that we'll probably do as an episode at some point. And he did Civil War, and he did Warfare, and he's got a lot of ideas about like countries and dynasties and legacies and other seas. High Sea and Capri Sun, and anyway, and I think even though there is that director flip, and I say, like, this movie, I like the direction of it. I think it's very well done, but it's not as wild and wacky as the first one with the, like, weird infrared cameras and
Smash
the crazy, like,
scenes.
360, like, Call of Duty kill cam zombie shots and whatnot. But I think that works because this is, like, putting you right there in a human conflict, and it's less about the, like, man versus environment of the first movie. But there are some carryovers. And the most interesting one that I want to talk to you about is the, like, reclamation of media and the misinterpretation of that media. Like, in the first one, you have this integration of, like, King Arthur movies, and that in that movie is not like characters themselves are watching King Arthur and talking about King Arthur. It's just spliced into the movie in a weird montage style. And it gets across what you want it to get across, which is, hey, the UK is dying in 30 days, like it is talking about like the legacy of the UK and colonialism and dynasty and what that ultimate, like the rot at the center of those ideas and how it spills over into this zombie story.
Mm-hmm.
This one's like, man, I really like Duran Duran because I've held on to my humanity. Man, I really like Jimmy Savile because I have not held on to my humanity. And I am obsessed with the Teletubbies, who are all about kindness and sharing and caring, but I'm going to use that to torture these people at a farmhouse. Anyway,
yeah,
I've been talking a lot.
So good. It's so, like, on point of, like, how vapid his, like, the and then, like, the Teletubbies being, like, used as just a thing of, like, this guy is not matured beyond age 8. He has no other, like, inputs. He has not experienced much else. Like, the fact that he's still focusing on this, when, like, I'm sure plenty of other people, like, we talked about in the previous 28 Years Later movie how, like, I don't know how common the assumption was, but at least for me, like, my assumption was that Spike's father was the kid that we see in the beginning of the movie who turns out to be Jimmy Crystal. And, like, they're probably a similar age, but, like, Spike's father, for all his faults, he does not have this specific fault, which is, like, being so rooted. Like, he probably saw Teletubbies when he was a kid, but he's not his whole life is not about that, and this guy who is just, you're getting a really good psychological picture of this guy from that detail that he's so obsessed with the Teletubbies that he's telling the Tiki Winky story. And it's my funniest line in the film, which is Jimmy Ink, like, walking by herself and going, already heard the fucking Tiki Winky story. He's like, she's like rolling.
I know about the apples. I know about the Tinky Winky.
She's like rolling her eyes as if he's like retelling her the time that he like got laid at like a bar or something. But he's like talking about Tinky Winky and his fucking apples. This is really good.
Well, like all all the other Jimmys that are not Jimmy Crystal are all like just slightly younger.
Mm.
And I think it calls back to that opening scene in 28 Years where it's like him surrounded by like the little kids in the like, we're going to shut these kids off from the dangers that are happening, and they're just going to be put in front of the telly and told to like not leave and chill out. And the only one who leaves survives, even though he goes on to become a crazy murderer. Like there's like these ideas, they're not spelled out, but there's these ideas of like passivity and like indoctrination and like just this use of multimedia. Like I'm so happy that carried over from 28 Years Later to Bone Temple, because it's such a rich idea and I'm just obsessed with it. And I like I'm not even watching this movie for zombies anymore. I'm watching it for like pop culture references. And then you add on to the fact that it's British, and I don't know dick about British culture, so I'm like, oh man, what does this mean? Like why use that sign or that song or that anecdote about World War II? Like what's going on here?
Oh no, it is beautiful. I think it's just a smart and good movie. To me, I think we should talk about Jimmy Savile, because I think that
Okay.
because I did read an article that quite irritated me when I was basically looking for information about Jimmy Savile, because I only have like
Well,
a sorry, go ahead.
no, well, let me do something that we often do not do in the podcast. You and I just dig straight in, and we don't explain anything for people who maybe
Okay.
have not seen the movie. 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, we find our protagonist, Spike. He's been, like, taken in by a group that all dress like you were dressed right now, in weird blonde wigs and with upside-down crosses and tracksuits and gold chains. And they are seemingly obsessed with Jimmy Savile, who is like the British Mr. Rogers, but then post his death was revealed to be a bad bloke
Mm-hmm.
who did many bad things. But in this world, the UK, like British culture kind of ended in like 2002-ish, like somewhere around there, like 1998 somewhere. So no one knows about that. So these are just children who are like, grew up into man baby crazy people who are like, Jimmy Savile's really cool. And they just don't know that truth. And that, I think, is a really intentional bit of writing. But continue.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, he's regular Harvey Weinstein, awful, terrible guy, and this movie chooses to have his like imagery, which is very famous and like ubiquitous in the UK, like the long blonde hair and the the tracksuit and the gold chains, like lets that really like swamp the movie. It's not just the main villain that's dressed like that. All of his henchmen are dressed like that. Our air quotes protagonist, who's not really the protagonist of the film, I wouldn't consider him at least. But
who speaks like 4 lines in this movie?
He's the protagonist is the oh my god, what's his Kelson? Kelson is the protagonist of the movie, clearly. But yeah, like Spike is the protagonist from the previous movies, just like him. They're all wearing this. It's like very like in your face, and yet no one in the movie is like, at least that we see, is specifically like sexually abusing people or pedophilic in any way. And like, the so good and interesting because
it's a weird choice, and there's not there's not a clear answer as to like why did Alex Garland and his twisted, messed up mind like make this choice.
But let's talk about it, because to me, I think there's a lot in that choice that's really good. What I was saying a minute ago is that I read an article that was like, they didn't even explore Jimmy Savile's sordid legacy in this movie. It's like, that was the whole point of the article. I was like, oh, all right, man, okay.
Is it not the point that they don't know, and that it's like every character in this series, except for Spike and I guess Ian Kelson, is like missing the forest for the trees, right? Like Spike's father in the first movie and that whole community are like, we've got to recreate like glory days England, and we're going to use a lot of World War II iconography, and we're going to use a lot of like serfdom iconography to like, and it's like we're all about the community and our roles and this weird mask with arrows in it, and that system fails Spike and his family in a lot of ways, and it's like, if you're just going to repeat what the previous society did, the previous society led to the rage virus that has caused this whole problem, right? And being an isolationist nation led to England being cut off by the rest of the world and basically left to like die. And there's a lot of Brexit in there, and there's a lot of like anti-nationalist sentiment in these movies. Like, I think that is undeniable. But then there's just these weird choices about like conveying that using old movie footage and using Roger Kipling poem and just all kinds of cool ideas. But yeah, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no, like let's talk about the choices, because to me, I think it's really great because what is this movie? Okay, like thinking caps on, writer for this news organization. Okay, what is
This
this?
is our often ignored segment. The curtains are not just blue, actually.
Yes.
So let's go for it.
The hair is not,
symbols.
the wig is not just blonde. In this one, what is this movie saying about Jimmy Savile and powerful, influential, charismatic men like him? We like. The characters in this movie don't know the truth about Jimmy Savile, but we do. So the movie is not going to waste time in like tricking us into thinking that this guy like Jimmy Crystal is really cool and charismatic, and then reveal the mask and hoodwink us. Okay, that's not the conversation that we're having. The conversation that we're having is how does this guy work? At no point in the movie do we ever really think this guy's going to be redeemed necessarily. At no point do we get the sense of like, you know, maybe he has some good in him or whatever. It's just like, what's going on up there, and how do you respond to a person like that? And we're living in a world that is run by people like this. I think that the parallels between Jimmy Savile and Donald Trump are pretty fucking undeniable, down to the goofy hair. Like there's a type of person who performs wealth in such a strange, oddball, audacious way that is like filling that same kind of charismatic role. And it's we see him like ripping people's flesh off and like doing his crazy thing, and we see him abusing. Like, there's so few times that he ever even like yell, like, because the movie is not treating you like an idiot. Like, you don't need to see the part. So often when we're establishing an abuser, it's like we have to have the scene where they like freak out and scream, and then the rest of the movie they can be really calm. It's like he's pretty much like keeping an even keel
He's even keel. Even as like half his crew is being like lit on fire, he's like, "Well, go get her!" Like he's
come
like,
on.
It's a weird performance where like that's scarier than him being some rage monster or what have you. Like he clearly commands such a hold over these other Jimmys, and yeah, it is clearly going like he has a certain charm about him. He has a certain magnetism, even though he's an awful person doing awful things and is also completely full of shit and is not talking to Satan. You can kind of buy that these people would be taken in by him, especially because they're younger people that are growing up in a world that is, you know, consistently like lost its morals and reasons, and like society is crumbling. But it is, you know, like I worry about the youth of today, and I worry about the youth of you and I, who are quickly becoming not youths, but like in a world that's crazy, it's easy to look at something. It's easier to be taken in by these like surface level displays of wealth and power and charisma, and you know, like there is a certain attractiveness to a Donald Trump figure of being like, he just tells it like it is, and that I think has increasingly been proven wrong time and time again, where he just continues to be full of shit. But we're a decade in at this point. But if you roll the counter back to like 2015, 2016, there was something refreshing about a guy on a stage of politicians not acting like a politician, right? Like that was the original enticing, like devil on your shoulder, like let's just burn it all down pitch. It ended up not being the case at all, and I think that like the signs were there for people at the time, and this and that. We're not, this podcast is not meant to. We'll do the 2016 election episode a different time, but we'll just watch all the election coverage. That'll be one of our episodes.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's so, like, everything is in this, and it's a good movie. And I think that, I think exactly what you said, it's easy to turn to that in a time of chaos and confusion, in a time of, murder and blood and people running around with demon eyes. It's easy to turn to a Satanist because, like, you're doing something wrong, you're torturing people, you're being sadistic, but you're like
you're promising a sense of place and understanding in a world that has nowhere for you to go and no logic to it. Like you're subscribing to people a certain amount of logic, even if that logic is based entirely in like manipulation and pretending to talk to Satan,
Yeah, like it's an evil world, and by like literally embodying evil, you're saying like here's how we steer the ship through these like seas in a way that like just being like, oh no, we just need to like treat our neighbors kindly is not working for these people who I'm sure have lost all sorts of things to scavenger, and like every single one of them has had to go through that same like indoctrination process that Spike goes through, where they need to kill another member.
Island folks.
What do you say?
Or you're talking about the Jimmy? You're talking about the Jimmies?
Yeah, in order to like enter the Jimmies, they need to kill someone. Many of them have also likely experienced things like what was experienced at that, where they come across that like small settlement and end up like killing everybody, and the pregnant woman gets away. Like when he says chase her, if she gets caught, she's a Jimmy, right? Like that's why he wants her alive, because she killed the Jimmy. That was my interpretation, at least, because
I think he has a couple of references to like her baby and wanting to rip her baby out. Like I think he just wanted to have some fun Satanism times.
Yeah,
her seemingly like their ages seem a little off, but I'm assuming it's her partner, the like younger guy who isn't ripped. He isn't de-shirted. That guy, I think, they give him the opportunity to become a Jimmy, and he fails,
right?
Like Spike. But yeah, I think Jimmy Crystal does like what she did in the sense that he's impressed by it. Like he appreciates might and power, right? But also he seemingly wants to keep only people he can manipulate, and so I think the reason that Spike is a child is something that he is like latching onto, not in the Jimmy Savile way necessarily,
right,
but also in the Jimmy Savile way of like taking advantage of those who there's a power, like latching onto power dynamics that benefit him.
That is where we hit on the exact nail of it, which is control. And I think that is like ultimately the two underlying forces that are fighting in this movie between, like, it's split into two perfect, beautiful halves. I love the structure of this movie, but Jimmy Crystal is control, and Dr. Kelson is, letting the chaos and, releasing control.
Sure.
And I think, like
before we get away from the Jimmy Trials thing, I just one last thing. I don't think he would have let the pregnant woman in to the crew. And I think that because the person he chooses in that lineup is not the old man, is not the woman, and it's not the middle-aged guy with the thicker beard. It's the kid, it's the younger man, it's the kid who like he can still kind of mold, like that. I think is a very telling detail that he's the one he gives a chance to.
Right. Like that's his choosing who he's going to recruit and surround himself. Again, like these are the direct Jimmy Savile parallels where it's like,
Right.
I the only reason I said that of like maybe was because he like that's kind of the first
He
time
wants
we
her back
see
alive.
an outburst from him, like truly, like he screams when that happens because he's lost control. This whole thing, all the rituals, all the order to it, like does he actually believe in Satanism or not, like or that Satan is speaking to him or not? Like on some levels, like clearly yes, as is shown later in the film, but like really like this is like the fundamental human drive is like control, right? And like all these rituals, like making people go through this and through the Jimmy trial in order to like enter is about like, you know, you have to invest so much to even become part of the Jimmys. It's like,
Well, it's like how you get someone involved in a conspiracy, right? It's like you implicate someone by making them commit a crime, and then you have this mutual bond of like self-destruction of like, well, you killed someone, I killed someone, now we're in it together, right? Like
yeah.
that's and we see Spike have his first murder in the beginning of this movie, and he's immediately changed from the Spike we knew from the last movie, who managed to somehow maintain his innocence and dignity through like a very perilous journey in
Mhm.
28 years later, not the Bone Temple. And now like instantly the salvation that he's offered at the end of that movie, where he's saved by these really effective zombie killers, is by no means salvation, and he is like even more in the thick of it and is going to like, would it have been better for him if he had just been killed by those zombies? Like, it's hard to say for a lot of this movie.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like he trains that bow on the pregnant woman and he's going back and forth and debating it like in the heat of the moment because it's just he knows the punishment if he goes back to the Jimmys. He knows the punishment if he tries to run. Jimmy Inc. says it to him like when he proposes that the two of them run before the Satan ritual. She's just like he's like, we got to get away from here. She's like, I've been other places. Like, this is safety, control, strength. Like they're building something through these like rituals of power, but like ultimately it is like the intolerable thing to him is like he loses a finger and it's like he's losing like there's got to be 7 and now there's 6 and that number keeps ticking down and like that is the thing that is like so intolerable to him because if he loses his control over that, he's going to lose his control over these people's willpower. Like they need to believe on some level in this
Well, and also,
mysticism. Yeah.
like he loses Kelly or Jimmy Inc., right? Because he's straying from his initial message. Like he has such a powerful, strong message of like, I am a servant of Satan, join me. But as soon as like they can smell bullshit on it, right? And even in the ritual later with Kelson, like the other 2 Jimmys that are still alive don't know who to side with for a moment because he's betraying what they think he is. Like it is very, we're going to keep going the Trump route, right? Like it's very like, I thought you were about draining the swamp, but now you're all swamp. Like what? Wait a minute. Am I being manipulated? Like there's these little cracks that show as he keeps getting caught up in lies, or he keeps getting caught up in like making it up as he goes along. And it's like, I saw how he reacted to that bone temple. He hasn't seen that shit before, and there are no bone castles in the Highlands. Like, I think it's an interesting aspect. I don't want to get away from the point you were making, but like I do think it is a really interesting aspect that he does, to a certain degree, believe in his own bullshit, believe in Satan, believe in Satanism or what have you. But he's also so willing to corrupt his own twisted ideas to serve his day-to-day purpose of manipulating these people, right?
Yeah.
Like, I do believe in Satan. I know this guy isn't Satan, but I'm going to use this opportunity to manipulate my followers.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's like he understands the importance of show and spectacle in order to
Hmm.
keep these people like, coming towards him. It's the kind of I want to talk more about the followers as well, because I think the
Hmm.
like so much of what this story is really getting at is like, okay, for all right, you're part of the Trump administration. You're one of the people in January 26th. What's that like? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't even think it's. Yeah, I think it's more the January 6th folks,
right.
or like the young men alt right as like a trope, but also
Yeah.
as like a real statistic that has like happened over the course of the last decade.
Yeah, like you're being used up and discarded. Like, what is that? But to stick on like what you're saying, like his kind of psychology, it's so interesting of like what you believe about sincerity. Like, what does someone like we're bringing up Donald Trump. Like, it goes for all these fucking people, like Donald Trump, Harvey
Well, like Donald
Weinstein.
Trump, I think legitimately thinks he is a good businessman, right?
Right.
Like I don't think he wakes up every day and believes he's a fraud,
Hmm.
even though he is a fraud. Like,
I think, yeah,
and
it's
that
like,
makes him stronger. Like that makes him more convincing. That's like his power is like he can delude other people because he can delude himself.
absolutely. It's like the and you have certain beliefs about the world, like when your whole
Hmm.
worldview kind of rests on certain delusions. It's like, you understand the truth as a much more flexible, fluid thing, and it
Hmm.
is driven by your emotions so much more. It's like the feeling when you or I, who I would argue have a lot more of a grounded kind of like sense of experience of the world, when we encounter something that is like uncomfortable to us and we don't want to be it to be true, like we might deny it, but like I think you probably understand the
A
feeling of,
willingness to explore it.
yeah, or like swallowing an uncomfortable truth, or like in that moment you think, okay, I'm having an emotionally hard time accepting this, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not true, and like I need to maybe
Hmm.
process that if this information is true, as opposed to, I think that type of person is like, it's all kind of like mystical and emotion, and there's some psychological element that makes it difficult to necessarily like lock in on something that's like actually true and like grasp onto it. So when things feel like emotionally like that can't be true, the belief fully follows that without any kind of like friction.
It's like instead of going, I need to confront this truth. It's like I need to change this truth.
Mm,
Like I need to change reality to fit my purposes or my beliefs, right? So, oh, maybe you're not Saint Nick, but maybe you're one of his followers, or maybe he sent you to me, or maybe like it gets obviously into religion and all that as
yeah.
well. But I love I we've been circling around it, but like maybe the most interesting scene in the entire movie is Ian Kelson, man of logic, man of reason, man of kindness, just like confronted with this guy, and it's not a violent confrontation. Like they're just gonna sit there and talk, and he's so unbelievably charming and kind that even a very scary psychopath can like be real for a second. And I think that is very interesting, and it it doesn't go so far as to make him sympathetic going forward, but in that moment you can see so much about this Jimmy Crystal character in knowing that like he really does seem to be confused about like what happened that day when his father, who also
Yes.
seemed to be going through it, I don't know if you remember,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, let in a bunch of zombies and misinterpreted Christianity to be like this is like the Judgment Day or what have you. Is it fun? Interesting.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like he clearly, like, when he has a moment where he can be vulnerable, where he's like, he can sense like, okay, this guy, like, I'm not going to try my manipulation tactics on him. Like, I want him to do this thing for me, and this guy is being so genuine and
Mm-hmm.
kind. I have a sense that I can just maybe ask him, and like, I'll
You're easy to talk to.
yeah, like I'll throw in the little thread about like feeding him his intestines as like a little, uh,
Mm-hmm.
carrot and a stick
A
type
little
of thing.
spice.
But like I have the sense that I'm not going to manipulate my way around this guy. And because the guy has done something hugely symbolically powerful in building the Bone Temple, it's like, he's playing into the theater and the stage of it. So, yeah, like, and he's like, if not, I'll just kill him and it'll be fine, like, but I think when he's opening up, it's like, yeah, he's like not that sure about it on some level, but like, it's because he can be open in that moment, but it's still like his sense of truth is emotion driven. And then the other thing that I wanted to get at is that I think with people who are like that, they perceive everyone else as that kind of. So when you're like really insisting on like, no, this uncomfortable fact is true, the way that they're taking that is like, you're attacking me because
Right.
you emotionally want that to be true, don't you? Like that fact is serving you, like, because they just kind of, they can't really like understand other people as like having a sense of like peace with like reality and like, understanding thing
Or
in that
faux
way.
reality, right? Yeah, like it's the classic like question of like, why you gotta be so negative? Like, he's trying. Nigel Farage is trying to fix Britain, or Donald Trump is trying to fix America. Like, it's like, is he trying? Like, well, let's look at the facts here. It's like, is he just lining his own pockets and his family's pockets? Like,
And it's like, no, you want that to be true because you hate me and you hate America and you want America to suffer.
Exactly.
It's like, and it's like, well,
that's the reaction.
But because
no, well, hold on, like, I don't feel good about this because it's negatively impacting you and me and everyone, and
Yeah, no, it's like that is how that like delusion persists. I don't know. It's just, I think it's a really well understood character and a very interesting character. And yeah, like having these people following him that like don't fully believe the bullshit he's selling, but like are being bombarded with it enough to not be able to fully deny it either. Like he's offering them some kind of explanation, even though it's like obviously fuzzy around the edges, and that they know that they need to be a little bit deluded to like buy into things. And we're seeing like the scale of how someone goes from like a scared and quivering Spike into becoming like one of them, is like that he's like aiming a bow at a pregnant woman. It's like good stuff.
I think we've done a lot of talk about the Jimmy Crystal experience, which is understandable because he is in some ways the protagonist of this movie. But I just want to put a nice little bow on this and say, like, if you haven't seen this movie, it's not in your face about the Donald Trump parallels. I've seen a lot of Donald Trump parallels in recent movies like Mickey 17, and movies from a few years ago like Don't Look Up, and largely they come across as very annoying and one note and shallow and not getting at the actual psychology of what makes a Donald Trump or a Boris Johnson or a Donald Trump, right? Like, it's not exploring the underlying, like, the meat on the bone of that as a character. And again, the believing in your own bullshit part of that has to go further than just being like looking like a horse's ass and being proven wrong all the time, right? Like that's not a entertaining satire. Maybe it is for some people, but like, I got a lot of SNL sketches I can show you, if that's what you're looking for. This is like, I feel like I understand the last 10 years better through the art of these two movies. And I think that is really powerful and punching above its weight for a legacy sequel to a zombie movie that, again, I have since watched, and I do quite like 28 Days Later, but like, this is so thematically rich and so interesting and so exciting. Mallory, do you want to switch gears and talk about the other half of this movie? You want to talk about Kelson and Samson?
I do.
Samson.
I do, but everything you said about Jimmy just made me want to talk about it more.
Keith, I could talk about Jimmy Savile forever. Or Crystal forever.
Yeah, just to say, I think the fundamental misunderstanding people have is when you see Donald Trump and you don't get his appeal, and you're not someone that he's speaking to, is like, oh, he's like that kid that I knew in school that would like say that they met Bigfoot or that their dad worked at Nintendo or was in the army and was going to bring a grenade to school and blow me up, which is something that someone did actually say to me in elementary school. And that's how you see him, and you see him as like this insecure person that's throwing a temper tantrum. And that's true to an extent, but you're missing the part where he's an adult. You're missing the part where he's a successful manipulator. You're missing the part where all of this is intentional. And like this movie gets that and is taking a step beyond and not looking at the persona, but looking at like, what are the effects of this guy's actions? How do you escape this situation? What does it take to get out from under this fucking guy's thumb? And yeah, the way that...
And the answer is a really selfless, cool doctor man who's painted in iodine
Yes.
and looks like a scary person.
The way that you get out is exactly transitioning to the other main character of this movie, which is Dr. Ian Kelson, the kindest little man. Sam, this dude's Satan concert made me so happy. Him blowing...
He's just a little thespian. This is a movie of two thespians going at it and like fighting in like the marketplace of ideas. Like
absolutely insane. The marketplace of aesthetics, Samuel. Like this is so fucking good. The blowing the drugs in their faces being that like first like like and God, you're clocking every emotion on Jimmy's face as he's watching each step of this performance, being like,
yes, he does such a good job of being like, I'm trying to pretend for my Jimmys right now, but I'm not sure where this is going, and is this plan working, or is it not working, or am I actually getting swept up in it? And it's just like, yeah, Jack O'Connell, right? Not the guy from Wake Up Dead Man, Jack O'Connell, the guy from this movie, and also, throwing this out there, he has played a enticing force of malevolence in another project that we have covered on this podcast. I told you this. I teased you with this before we started recording. He is Remick, the vampire from Sinners.
Oh, I would never have got that, and I don't feel bad for not getting it.
That's totally fine. But yeah, I just wanted to let you know that because I promised I would tell you.
That's very good.
Amazing acting, though. Amazing. I've never heard of this guy before Sinners. In these two movies, I'm like, this guy is incredible.
Yeah, no, really, really good. Yeah, like you're clocking exactly because you can fully see it from his perspective. He's like, is this going to help me? Or is he about to, like, I think he recognizes the power of the showmanship. Because, like, when he gets on stage and he's doing this performance, he's like, oh, this guy could fully be like, you are a false prophet of Satan, and they'd all turn on me in this moment, right?
I believe that Dr. Kelson is Satan in that moment. Like, he really commits to the bit, and he does a great job.
Yeah.
And a small part of it that, like, kind of bums me out is he desecrates his real art to do so, right? Like, he transforms the Bone Temple into what Spike and his mother expected it to be, or Spike's father expected it to be in the first movie, which is like, oh, this is a crazy guy who's living in a house of bones. And it's like, no, it turned out to be like a really beautiful, like, maybe a little deranged, but a really, like, emotional art piece, a life's work of remembering and, like, processing tragedy. But then he puts a bunch of spooky candles on it and lights it on fire and goes like, Satan! And puts an upside down cross in the middle of it.
But it's so beautiful. It's like, I don't know. I think, to me, that is kind of precious, is like, he does that and he builds the Bone Temple for himself, honestly, because he's by himself and he's in his, it's his way of honoring these people that have passed, and like individually washing each of these skulls is like his way of like, processing the tragedy and stuff. And he's able to use what he's done as a like teaching moment for Spike and like a way for him to process the trauma of like losing his mother. But he's still a practical guy, he's a Satanist versus an atheist, and he's like, I've built the symbolic thing, but the symbolic thing is not worth more than like the human life or lives that are potentially going to be spared either by me surviving this encounter so that I can continue to hang out with Samson. Just gotta like
The homie.
get like get doped up and like hang out by a river or whatever. Like, but it's like now this is a tool that I can use in a certain way. Like, to me, I understand that. I also like I can feel the sense of like desecration, but I'm also just like, yeah, it's another tool. It's a dramatic tool that he has in his arsenal that I really, really love. And it speaks to his deeper philosophy that he's like, both of them do it.
He's trying to have a peaceful solution, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's do no harm. And you see that peek out in a lot of his actions, like wanting to have Samson somehow give him consent so that he can euthanize him.
Yeah.
And like, there's all these him keeping Samson around and not killing him when he has many opportunities to do so, including in the first movie. But it still makes me feel a little sad, like it's not a neat like bow of like, oh, and the good thing happened and the movie ended in a good way. Like, in some ways, Kelson created the devil, and we don't know what's up with Samson now, but like, we see that misinterpretation of this beautiful thing he's done with healing this zombie man and making this giant bone structure, and all Jimmy Crystal can see is like the devil and the like, yeah. It's such a weird, it's a weird feeling to end on in a good way.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's something that's so consistent of this movie. It's like if you're covered in blood, you're evil. You know what I mean? Like, that's because, we know Samson just had this really healing, emotional, human moment on the train, and he's like remembering his past life and shit, and he has come out of all this gore, like reborn as like a human, or at least closer to one than he's ever been. Like, maybe he's just a rage virus person that has had their psychosis healed. We don't really fully understand, but like, because he's covered in blood and he's big, it's just all about appearances. Like, that's what he is. He is this like devilish figure that has come like at the end of Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal's life. It's like, I think that the way it's talking about images, and like, it's not trying to persuade you with it. Like, the images are clearly displayed to us to be transparent. It's not trying to trick us. The only time that this like trilogy or duology so far has tried to trick us, quote unquote, potentially, was in the first movie when we thought maybe we can't trust zombies, but like, that veil has been lifted from us, and like,
I mean, we can't trust all of them.
not wholeheartedly and not blindly, but like, we can't. It is a crime in this movie's logic to default dismiss a zombie in the same way that you would default dismiss anyone. Like, it's like taking the time to understand something and looking for a peaceful option is always rewarded. And like,
the black and white, like, people covered in blood are evil and zombies are evil, and like, we on the island are good, is really well conveyed in the first movie, especially with the like, the whole movie is based on a misunderstanding of Spike's dad thinking that Kelson is like this monster, and he's so scary in that like 10 seconds you see of him in the first movie before Spike and his mother get to him later. And that is a through line through both movies of like, everyone wants who they come across to be to fit into like a neat box that they expect, right?
Yes.
The alpha's a monster that can't be cured. Kelson's an evil monster who made a bone temple because he's a crazy maniac, because that's the most logical conclusion in the world that we're living in. But then it's like, dignity and humanity constantly shine through and prove these people wrong.
Yeah.
Like, Spike is not this easy young boy that can be molded into a killer for Jimmy Crystal's purposes. He is complex, and he is ultimately Jimmy's undoing. And it's really cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like, I think the and but that's what's so beautiful is like, we've dealt with real the emotional feelings of like realizing we've been lied to, and like the breakdown of these images, and realizing the person we thought was evil was good and the person we thought was good is evil. Like, we've experienced that through
Mm-hmm.
Spike's lens through the first movie. So this movie is like, all right, so what are the puppet masters doing? Like, what are these two people who are so adept at playing with images doing, and how do they like manipulate things, and what is the point of doing that? Like, what does it take to be someone who's good at doing that? It's an isolating experience, I think, for both of them. Like, they both have to exist in their own isolated kind of realities, and you know Kelson is so overjoyed that he's finally had someone approach him with curiosity as opposed to like hostility and fear. um even though it happens to be someone who can only say moon and couldn't say anything up
Moon.
until that point. Um,
The look
yeah,
on his face when he says moon, and he's just like overwhelmed with, so like, I have a friend and it's actually real and we
acting.
really do love each other, and I'm gonna not be alone anymore. Like, it is so sweet. Penny the cat is ripping at my chair. It is so sweet and so human, and like, in some ways, like, Kelson is a flawed, like, he's defined by how capable he is in the first movie,
Mm.
right? Like, he understands the virus more than anyone. He's very effective at living alone, but his fatal flaw is that he's lonely, and so that he takes these risks of taking in Samson. Samson almost kills him in the first movie.
He uses
He
up all the
goes so far in
morphine.
this. He uses up all the morphine on him. He goes so far as to get high with him, and like, he's like, the cracks are starting to show in terms of his capability to survive in this world, because he's making more emotional decisions. Like, the rational is falling back in favor of the hopeful again, and
Hmm.
that is beautiful emotionally, but is a danger to his preservation of life, and he ultimately dies at the end of this movie. But he dies having accomplished so much more than if he was just this isolationist, guy that the island folk think he is.
Totally, yeah, and it's it does also feel so, like, just as he's like, his art kind of ends up being used for, it gets ends up being desecrated to like please Jimmy Crystal. It's like
Mm-hmm.
his like, he doesn't have his like at least as far as I perceive, like his last words to Spike were not like, go into the lab, grab my notes, you're going to
Right.
cure the zombie fire. You know what I mean? And it's like, maybe the notes are in there, but like none of that's communicated. And I think that fertile ground for exploration in the next movie, like interactions between these people and Samson, but like all the remaining characters in Samson, but he doesn't leave him with like, by the way, remember that guy with the huge dick? He's good now. Don't fight him. Um, it's it does end
There are
up,
so many misconnections of,
yeah,
like, we maybe have cured the zombie virus, but it doesn't even matter because things are too far gone. Like, the zombie baby is still at the island place,
right.
right? Like, the zombie born baby who seems to be healthy and
Hmm.
like safe and maybe the solution to this whole problem. But it doesn't matter. It's like, it's about the characters and about the sense that there is no going back, but how can you make a life for yourself in this world that is in some ways on that irreversible path of destruction and death and, memento mori. um what the Sam so I've been dancing around this question all podcast. How did you feel, as someone who is generally not a horror movie person, when I was like, we're watching this movie, and I know you liked the first one, but they start, cutting off people's skin, and they start having a gory old time. Like, what is switching gears a little bit, switch topics a little bit, but like, how did that would you rather this movie have no zombies, or just, like, just be Samson?
I thought about it and I thought I think I'm getting I think I'm really hitting a stride in general in my like opinions and like my
Mm.
world philosophy of like not kink shaming. I'm just like let people do what they're gonna do. Okay, you want to have like tomato juice spraying everywhere or whatever, however they making these flicks nowadays. Fine. So I'm getting less like, oh no, if we like show people killing people, that's gonna make people watch it and be like, I gotta do that. That looks freaking awesome.
Mm.
Um, Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but I think that we can't limit what we're creating in art based on like what some guy is gonna do with it. You know what I mean? Because
Well, so like,
someone's gonna watch the Teletubbies and you know be inspired to commit a bunch of ritualistic killings. So it doesn't. They were gonna do it anyway. Um,
it turns out it's really easy to misinterpret things.
yeah.
Um,
But
I asked
mm,
this because like we talked about the up at the front, like some vague complaints I've read online of like it's not enough of a horror movie, like the thrills and the scares aren't there. But clearly you and I don't give a shit about that because we're 50 minutes into talking about like manipulation and psychology and loneliness and all these like thematically rich human ideas. But also, this is a pretty good horror movie at times. Like I think it's low on action, but the action that's there I think is really really well done. And I want to talk a little bit about the filmmaking of it all.
mhm.
I like the staging of the shed scene and like as it like the use of place in this the only new set in this movie, which is like a farmhouse and a gate and a shed.
Mhm.
Um, I really like the train sequence. I think that is like a standout and something I've never seen
Yes.
before. And I've seen a lot of zombie media, but like as it's constantly flashing back and forth between like the young child who becomes Samson and then like you see the adult version of what Samson could look like if he wasn't all zombified, and the fact that as soon as he comes out of it, the other zombies have an innate knowing that he is no longer one of them, and that in itself is back to like the like otherization of people and this whole thing. It all connects. I'm
Yeah,
like
I mean, like,
Charlie Day with the red string. Like I just can't believe how well thought out this movie is. But yeah, sorry.
yeah, like we learned that the zombies are seeing humans as zombies. Like when he
Hmm.
kills that one guy, like it's showing his
Yes.
vision of like he's seeing a zombie and he's killing a zombie. So we're all just killing people that we view as zombies. Again, going back to the point we were making in the last movie, which is that like zombie was appropriated from Haitian culture and was not this inherently negative thing, and became that because of like was that original story was fueled by fearful white colonialist settlers like
Hmm.
imaginations, like their guilty fucking conscience being like, oh, your culture has a thing about like people rising from the dead. Well, that means that you're gonna have an army of people that are gonna take revenge on us for being like
Right. And even
exploitative.
in the modern, like what we think of as like the modern day zombie interpretation, like the Western American version, like the George Romero's and all that, is also very like allegorical of like otherization and like the. I haven't seen them, but my understanding is like the original Night of the Living Dead has some themes of like racism and being too like bullheaded to perceive an actual threat because you're too focused on like the internal conflict. And it seems like every zombie movie that you watch like throws a bunch of people into a gas station or a grocery store or whatever, and there's always like, I'm the racist guy and I'm the nice person and I'm just trying to get along, and that's almost maybe the worst part. um but this movie does that in a way that I didn't think you could still have fresh new ideas with this staging.
I gotta say, I think that we talked about this in the last time we talked about it, which is the extremely famous slash infamous Hayao Miyazaki quote about fearing for the future generations, which was based on somebody creating like AI kind of animation thing that created like a zombie-like movement.
Yes.
I think that this like I was kind of like, there's some gray area and nuance here and like that kind of thing. For me, this movie definitively proves Miyazaki wrong in that I think that there is stuff to be explored. Like, to really answer your question that you're asking about, like are my eyes glued to the screen? Do I know exactly what happened in the shed? Not completely. There's enough dialogue. Thankfully, they kind of caught me up to speed, but I'm not looking at every frame of this. I don't quite have the constitution for it. But I think that, like, you couldn't tell this story as well and effectively, and you couldn't have these, like, honestly fucking beautiful reflections on, like, humanity and death and all this kind of stuff in the way that you're doing if you, like, pulled your fucking punches around the, the zombieism and the gore and the senseless violence of it all, and the sadism and the differences between the types of violence that are being, like, enacted. I think that
it's senseless violence sensibly depicted.
Exactly. I would say so. I think, like, this movie has something to say. This is a humanist movie. I think that it is defensible. I'm so fucking tired of, like, I'm so happy that it's a movie that's not limited by genre. You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad that the first movie was allowed to be more like Call of Duty because it was supposed to be like that because it made sense for the story. And I'm glad that this one is not like that as much anymore, and it's more about, like, listening to Radiohead, sitting in the mud.
It's really hard for some audiences to pick up on when a movie is portraying something as rad as hell and doing 360 no scope arrow kills on zombies. Some people never make the leap to go, maybe this depiction is wrong and is reflecting our characters in some way. Maybe Spike's dad is not just a badass. Maybe these, like, government Swedish people are dummies, and, like, maybe this is all trying to say something about, like, maybe the King Arthur footage is not in here just because, like, medieval knights are sick. It's because they are sick in a different way. There is a sickness, a societal problem with XYZ.
And at the same time, maybe sometimes you think you're a fucking art critic, and then you have a sequel to a movie that finally does the thing that's like, let's decenter the previous protagonist because we kind of did his thing, okay, we're in the writer's room. What's interesting about this movie? Let's make the movie about the thing that's interesting and not, like, have our protagonist overstay its welcome and repeat things from the previous movie because we feel like we have to. Let's
this series
shed those obligations and just do what we want. And then someone who thinks of themselves as a movie critic is, like, going online being like, well, what happened to Spike, guys? I expected one thing.
Why didn't they turn to the camera and go, Jimmy Savile was actually a bad man?
I expected one thing, and that thing didn't happen. What the heck, guys?
And that's awesome.
It's the best. It's all I want in it. Every movie is bad because it doesn't fucking do this shit. And then those same critic will turn around and be like, they tried to, like, do these things that I wanted them to do, and it didn't work out how I wanted to do. And then finally, movies like, let's just not worry about all that shit and just make a good movie that's about this similar topic, and it's fucking great.
This is a good transition into the end of the movie. And the thing that I am most concerned about is the Avengers will reassemble-ness of the ending, where Cillian Murphy is suddenly in this movie. And context for you, Mallory, he's the guy from the first movie. And it's like, oh, I hope that that's not gonna be lame. I went home from when I watched Bone Temple in theaters. I went home and immediately watched 28 Days Later because I was like, what's the deal with this guy? The answer is he's just a guy who woke up in the zombie apocalypse and survived for a movie, and that was, like, okay. But in this movie, they're already introducing some stuff. I want to know more about his daughter. I want to know why he feels the need to teach her World War II history, and that's immediately becomes, like, who is this gentle guy, and why is the last line of this movie like, of course we're going to go help these strangers? I'm excited. I hope this third movie gets made.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm excited because them bringing up like the history of World War II and how the UK did this noble heroic thing by like, not
Not
further,
bankrupting Germany.
not
Again.
further punishing like Germany and Japan. And I'm like, in this movie that has already been pretty anti-nationalist, I'm like, let's cook.
I don't think that that's saying like, I don't think that he's necessarily wrong in that moment. Like, maybe they will explore more of like,
I want
even
them
Churchill was a bad guy or what have you. I understand that, but I think that it is providing like a bit of hope, and it's like, sometimes organizations, societies, what have you, can make the right choice and can make the noble choice, and there's a lot to dig into with that brief conversation, like talking about like defeating, they literally like, it's the four dummies moment at the end of the movie where they literally start name dropping like authoritarianism, nationalism, fascism, defeating, starving these ideas, by making a non self-preservation choice, right? Like England and America and whatever created economic rivals for themselves by propping back up Germany, by propping back up Japan, and in some ways that gave us a lasting peace for 50, 60 years that now is, going and having some troubles. And obviously, like, there have been wars in between, and there have been atrocities committed by the quote-unquote good guys in Vietnam and Iraq and Iran currently, and all those different things. We don't have time to get into all that.
Well, we do,
but
a little bit, because
a little bit,
because I know. Here's the thing. There's a lot of parallels between that scene and the introduction of the Jimmies in the end of the previous movie, which is that Jimmy is providing an alternate. Like, Spike is never like, hell yeah with the Jimmies, like, at any point. He's never like fully persuaded, but like, he is providing an alternate like thing to the, like, he is a punchline to this movie that has been like, we gotta bring back good old British society, and we gotta bring back like gender roles, and you're a good lad, Spike, and you're a good man, and dad's cheating on the mom, and like,
we're gonna lie to the village that we are, we're gonna pump ourselves up, and
and it's Dr. Kelson was so scary, but now we've broken away from Spike has made the choice to break away from society. Here's someone who does not conform to society's expectations of what you're supposed to look and dress like. This is a rebellious punk rock chaotic group of people. They're Satanists or whatever, but he's dressed as Jimmy Savile, so it is supposed to be like, wee whoop, wee. Is
Mr. Oppenheimer supposed to be like the neoliberal, like everything is okay dipshit? Like, is that maybe where we're going? Maybe.
I think that there's something there, because in that conversation, while it's less like obvious compared to Jimmy Savile, I'm hopeful that this is the direction it's going in, because I think if it is, it's fucking the best trilogy of movies ever made in the whole history of life. But I think that while he's explaining all this stuff about like fucking like that
Churchill
Allies and Axis after World War II and stuff like that, she keeps being like, I'm reading about like, does this affect like Russia and like that economy, because like that's what I'm dealing with now, because it is a nice story to be like, rather than punishing our enemies, we shook hands and we like, and we made peace, and like that's why, like, that is true, right? Because it's good to not. Yes, it is good to not punish a country that you've won.
But it's leaving out a couple of nuclear bombs and some breaking up into Germany into East and West and all kinds of problems, right? Like, it is
stuff kept happening.
An oversimplification. Stuff kept happening, yeah.
And he's saying it, like, and then when he starts saying like, we never forget history, like, I'm being like, Like, and she's saying, she's bringing up Russia because it's like, yeah, that's the obvious thing that immediately happened afterwards. And the thing that kind of exposes it, which is like really what World War One and Two were, is like, it's like a fucking cage match. Like, let's see who's got the biggest fucking thing, and we drive into the other. It's a power struggle. It's about control, and it's a nice story, you know, to kind of like
It
just focus on that part, that like we could have been so mean to Germany and Japan, and we were less mean the second time around because it didn't really work with the rest of the first time around. But then we immediately went into a grudge match against Russia because it's just all about building this global hierarchy of domination that is led to what we have today with the US. And in a movie that is a Brexit aware, in like the first movie especially, it's like, I'm pretty sure this dude's politics is going to be a little bit better. That's what I'm hoping for. I really, really want it to be this, but you never know.
I think I don't think he's going to make the jump and be Jimmy Crystal of movie 3. Like, I think in that sense you may be disappointed, but I'm sure that there will be trials and tribulations and ideas tested, right?
Yes.
And it would be a little boring for the third movie to be like, and the good guys won, and Spike and Oppenheimer, you know, he played Oppenheimer, so I keep calling him Oppenheimer. They made an everlasting peaceful society that's not isolationist like the island people. Like, I don't know if Alex Garland's a pretty cynical, weird guy. I don't think we're gonna go that route, but I think the first movie kind of does, where that character and the two people he's traveling with, like, make it to some kind of like safe haven, which looks a lot like the place they're in the end of this movie, like just like a nice like cottage in a field. But the two people he was with are missing in the scene, and it's not clear what happened. And the girl in the scene might be the daughter of him and one of the women he travels with in the first movie. But all that being said, the end of the movie being, of course we're gonna go help them, I think is like, there is going to be some like hopium in the third movie. There is going to be some like, maybe if the neoliberals and the liberals get together, they could stop the fascists or whatever. We'll see. This movie might not even end up getting made. It's hard to tell. The second movie did not do very well financially. I will be very sad if the third movie doesn't happen. But this movie also just came to Netflix and it was like number one. So it's hard to say. Like, this movie may end up getting funded in some other way. This third sequel, which is also the sixth movie. Or the fifth movie. Anyway.
People...
Mallory.
I'm going to quote The Big Short.
Okay.
Poetry is something like this. It's poetry is the truth. And people fucking hate poetry. And that is these movies, okay? People don't like to be like, hey, let's look at this bad fucking dude. People like to just sit around and be like, wow, I can't believe we were tricked. Okay, time to support Elon Musk. Like, that's not gonna break bad, you know? Like, it's like, I think that...
Hey, Brexit broke our country. Let's put a liberal in charge. No, we hate the liberal. Let's put the guy who caused Brexit in charge. Like, Nigel Farage is on track to be the new PM of England right now, which I think is funny because of all the problems caused by him directly and the Boris Johnsons of the world. Anyway.
Insane bullshit. I think this movie is so good. I want to, like, are you ready to be to Reiki? Because I had a Satanism bit.
Okay. This
movie nails something for me. We don't have time for this. This is such a fucking good. This is a good movie, and this is how long all of our podcasts should be. We should be talking for this long. We should be lucky that we're getting things in depth. Fuck B-stars. They didn't even try. They didn't even fucking try. Okay,
Mallory, you and I, we're alike. You and I.
Okay, this movie nails the thing about Satanism, and I think a lot of people don't fucking... Okay, what is Satanism, Sam? I don't believe in Satan. I will embrace satanic themes often, and it's not... What is that? Satan is a character...
Cook queen. I don't know what the hell you're going with this.
I'm ready to cook. I have all my ingredients laid out. in my fucking hibachi chef layout thing. I'm ready to start doing some tricks. Okay, I think that it's about Christianity. You know, like you can be like an atheist, agnostic, whatever. That's like trying to be like I'm above all of this stuff. You know, I don't even think about it or whatever. Satanism is about being like, fuck you Christians or whatever. I'm sure there's some people out there that are like legit like, yeah, dude, he speaks to me and he's freaking awesome. There's the Jimmy Crystals of the world, but there's also like the lonely lonely kind of like, you know, 30 somethings
listening to Duran Duran and Radiohead and
need a hobby,
crashing out.
You know, just like, you know, teens doing drugs and like being like, yeah, dude, I talked to Satan last night. He's awesome. To me, this movie like really crystallizes the thing that like made me like lean into all this stuff, and the kind of like one of the core dissatisfactions I have with like the kind of Christian worldview that I was brought up with, that like I feel like gets talked about less, because it's very easy to point to the political stuff. It's very easy to point to like treatment of gay people, and like it's easy to point to like, you know, higher ups in the church doing bad things, right? Like that's the easy stuff to point to. It's easy to point to like fossils and bones and the chart of the monkey turning the human, be like, and these simple idiots believe in religion. All right, that's easy stuff. Okay, I'm talking
Mallory,
about
you're treading dangerously close to Ricky Gervais again. To like, and you believe in a man in the sky? Like we're getting.
And you think
we're getting.
And what do you think he put coins in? Okay.
Our atheist moderator, Ricky Gervais, has entered the chat, is all I'm saying.
This is what I'm saying, is like we're
What are you trying to say about Satanism?
The thing
I didn't
is,
understand it before we started recording, and I still don't understand it.
I was building it all up, because that was me trying to brush... That was me trying to put Ricky in his corner, so that he kind of shuts his trap a little bit. The death thing, man, on an emotional, spiritual level, is so unhealthy to me. I don't like it. Okay, it's like, to each their own. I'm not gonna be the fucking jackass that's good, and that's why it's hard to talk about, because the only time it comes up is like at funerals. I'm never gonna look at a person and be like, they're gonna be like, you know, and she's watching over us, and I'd be like, no, she's not. Okay, that's stupid. That completely defeats the whole point.
That's in the sky.
You think she's in the sky
on a cloud?
Was she carried up by a lorry? No.
Religion provides comfort for folks with the by definition unknowable question of what happens when you die, and that the anxieties surrounding whether that is an eternal darkness or something more can be used and channeled as a tactic for manipulation. Is that a summary of what you're saying?
What I'm saying is like, yes, but that's still part of that's still in the Ricky Gervais corner.
We're still in setup.
Okay. No, we're not in setup. I'm trying to, I appreciate you summarizing that, because that is the thing that I'm trying to put in the corner. Is like, yes, It can be to use manipulation, all these other things, but also
you have another problem with Christianity.
I think I don't think it's like a healthy way to cope with the afterlife, and I think it is about control. Like, I think it is about the feeling of control that gives you, the feeling of like knowing and comfort, and like, you know, there's something out there still. I know I'm saying something controversial. I'm being very open about my opinions, because most people that I talk to are like, I don't necessarily belong to a religion. I may be spiritual. I think something happened. This is the most common sentiment I hear, is like, I think something happens, but I don't know like what specifically it is. For me, the reason why that's always been really like unsatisfying to me, and I just don't vibe with it, is like, I'm like, I just think that's like,
you think it's cope?
Yeah, because like, of course you want to believe that, because it's like, oh, like it keeps going, you know what I mean? And I've never felt that. I've never really had any like draw to that, and yeah, it just feels like we're in the control and chaos, the control versus chaos of this movie. It's like, yeah, okay, like the afterlife exists and it's a tangible thing. We can like cling on to it, and like there's gonna be something waiting for us. And I think this movie is like such a good like depiction of that feeling of like, nah, man. So what are we gonna do about the people here? And it's really focused on the people here and now in the physical world. That's something I like.
Mm-hmm.
I like when we're like, okay, whatever happens. Like, what are we doing with the people in this room? And let's have a party and like let them have drugs. And what Kelson really does is entertain these folks and let them have a good fucking time. You know what I mean? And to me, that is the thing of that's what I connect,
Yep.
like Satanism and all that kind of stuff, of just like
I see.
the just kind of like burn it all downness of it, you know. Again, obviously it means something to people. Obviously, if I could Thanos snap Christianity away, I would not necessarily do so because that would hurt a lot of people, right? But like, you know, I think this stuff, I don't necessarily have a place to talk about it on a regular basis. And I'm not prompted to talk about it very often. And I love this movie for prompting me to talk about it. That's what I gotta say about that kind of stuff, okay?
Hey, man. This is a safe place where you and I can discuss ideas based upon art. This is your podcast too.
It's good.
I'm not quite picking up the threads between this and 28 years later, the Bone Temple, but I'm sure they are there. Are you saying, did you really respond to Kelson's willingness to play into these themes and ideas and kind of have a good time? Like, he puts on a hell of a show and he rocks out to Iron Maiden, and he treats these, much like his conversation earlier with Jimmy Crystal, he treats them with a level of respect that is surprising and
Right.
deep for a film that is ultimately a zombie movie.
Yeah, like
I'm with you there.
he's respecting them, because you see the way that the pregnant woman and the other survivors react to these like obvious criminals that are stealing their food or whatever. It's like fair. You know,
It's fair.
but it's
They
like
are there to kill them.
they're all like, fuck you, and they're like, we're gonna kill you back. And Kelson's like, you guys want to show, like, he understands where they're at, and he's like, here's something that I can give you. And it's why, and it is that part, like when he pulls out the Iron Maiden CD of like that is what, like, what was the air quote Satanism movement in heavy metal like that was happening back then. It was about opposition to
it's about
Christianity.
counterculture.
Yeah, like these people, like Iron Man, like I haven't researched every single fucking band, but like I don't think that the people in Iron Maiden, I don't think all these people doing this stuff were like, I think that Satan is real, and I think that I'm doing things that make him happy right now. You know what I mean? I think that they're probably not very religious, and probably like, you know, let's lean into this imagery because like we're expressing something, we're sending a message, or you know,
We're being subversive, right?
yes, and yeah, I don't know. I think,
And then there are still people in the world who go, well, I don't want you to rage against my machine. You know, like and that's why you need 28 years later, and 28 years later, the Bone Temple.
yeah, and the fucking Bone
Mallory,
Temple, yeah.
and the fucking Bone Temple. I'm gonna cut you off because I gotta know. Because I don't think 28 years later the first one was an S tier, but I can feel your passion for this series growing, and it warms my heart because this has become very much an obsession of mine over the last 2 years. Like, these are some of my favorite movies I've seen, and if you give it Baby Girl, I'm just gonna like cry. I gotta know where you sit with 28 years later, the Bone Temple.
Hold on, I'm getting a call, Sam. Remy boys? Yeah. 1738. I said, hey, what's up? Hello. Sam, this is a Trap Queen instant. This is the best fucking movie. It's so good. It's a good movie. I fucking hate movies. They piss me off. This is a good movie, and movies that aren't like this suck. And I hate people. This
Finally,
movie
some
makes
good
me.
fucking food.
This movie has made me more misanthropic, and fucking Dr. Ian Kelson would be disappointed in me because I'm like, people are such
I
fucking
like how your
idiots.
reaction to good art is, why isn't other art better? Like, fuck art.
Because it's like, this is what I'm trying to say. Every single fucking thing on this podcast, you can go back and like, I'm making points badly like I always do and not explaining myself. What I'm trying to say is like, you should make it more like this. You know what I mean? Drop Louis in season 1. You know? Drop Lego
I
Sheep.
agree.
Fucking just have them
Just say something. Just say anything. I mean, I like how we can't get away from B-stars, but just say anything. Like,
push beyond like the themes. Okay, like we get the themes. Don't repeat the themes in the next one. Push the envelope. Get deep.
push further.
Get deep. And the problem is when you get a certain level underwater, and all of a sudden,
And the movie makes $10 million instead of 40.
yeah,
You're
you've
like,
changed
is there gonna be a
genres,
third
and you've
one?
lost the protagonist, and you've like alienated people, and now you're like going against society because eventually you gotta fucking fight the powers that be that don't want you to say the truth. 28 years bone world says the truth, and that's what I like. And I give this
We stand with
7
28 years later, the Bone Temple.
7 skeleton bones out of 100 billion. That's not what I meant to say. 100 billion skeleton bones out of 100 billion skeleton bones is what I would rate this movie as, Sam. It's a good movie.
Otherwise known as the Trap Queen tier. Mallory, I'm just so happy. I'm so happy that you feel this. Because it was a little bit of a risk, these two movies, right? Like, this is such a departure for you genre-wise, and I'm not saying you're some pretty little princess who can't, step out of your boundaries, but it's a bit of a leap, right? And it's a bit confronting at times, and I'm just so happy that you are as enthused about the Bone Temple as I am, because I'm really enthused about the Bone Temple.
Horror movies that I've seen: Megan, Cabin in the Woods, and Walrus Man, whatever the fuck that movie's called.
Tusk.
Fuck all of those movies, okay? This movie, fuck yeah. Bone Temple, I'm there. I'm seated, okay? That's my opinion on horror. On the horror genre, it's Bone Temple, Megan, the rest. All right, that's what I'm saying. But Megan pales in. I'll be so honest, Sam. Megan pales in comparison to this. But
You're saying that after an hour conversation about how aesthetics can be used to manipulate and to be used to like make something that's maybe a little shallow, less shallow to people, and to appeal in a broad sense, in a manipulative sense, to get garner support. You're saying that Megan maybe isn't all that.
But did you see her
She dances in
tortoiseshell?
a hallway once.
Did you see her tortoiseshell sunglasses, Sam?
Of course. Oh yeah, I saw them. Mallory, what journey are we gonna go on next? Where are you gonna take me? Are we gonna leave jolly old England?
We're traveling across the world of ancient Japan, where hip-hop music was extremely popular, and they had DJs, and they had baseball, and they had all sorts of stuff going on, and they had hilarious memes. And we're going to the land of Samurai Champloo. Sam, as you know, I have, on this past week, been traveling to Okinawa, which is some islands at the south of Japan, a little ways down. And Okinawa is very famous for a specific dish that is called champloo, which is a mix, a blending of a lot of different stuff. It's a stir fry, and it's fire, and it's so good. And I've been eating it, and I came back to where I am, and I realized it was in like the regular convenience store, and I picked it up, and I was eating it on a phone call with you and my other friend while we were purchasing Baldur's Gate. And now we're gonna watch the anime about it that's so good, and we're gonna love it, Sam. It's gonna be so good.
Mallory, I've been saving Samurai Champloo for over a decade now, because it's been a long time since I watched Cowboy Bebop for the first time, and I was like, wow, this is really good. I should really watch Samurai Champloo. And I just never have. And I've always been like, it's waiting for me one day, and one day I'll crack it open and smile, and I'll be happy again. So I look forward to that.
Yeah, It's fun. It's absolutely up there with Cowboy Bebop. I'm definitely Cowboy Bebop is like all timer, I think, but very close second. I think this is like doing everything I wanted to, taking advantage of the TV series format of like every episode being like, what if we just did whatever, and then just doing it, and it's like, hell yeah, that's awesome. And we got character foils.
I look forward to it.
Order versus chaos.
Order versus chaos. Because of the structure of the show, I look forward to doing the exact opposite of what I should do and marathoning an episodic series, because that always goes well. And that is unfortunately the trap that we have created for ourselves with our structure. Because, some things like a Yokohama Kadashi Kiko or Beastars are maybe better in small bites over the course of a long period of time. But instead, we're going to watch 26 episodes of anime in a week. And that's fine. I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that. Until next time.
Didn't have any plans, so...
Mallory, have a great evening.
Have a great day, Sam. Bye.
Goodbye.